Hey turn-based lovers, this is Leaf, and today we'll be showcasing a brand new gacha game in yet another sponsored video brought to you by a studio that we all know and love. As some of you folks might know, XD Inc. is the company behind this new game that we'll be talking about in this video, and the very same one behind the game called Sword of Convaloria, another free-to-play turn-based RPG that we covered a few months back in this very channel. But the game that we'll be focusing on today is a brand new turn-based gacha RPG that is challenging the space of the modern turn-based gachas. Ethereal Restart is, at its core, a team-based hero collecting turn-based RPG set in a world where Earth, as we know it, is pretty much left as a desolate wasteland, and the surviving members of humanity opted to upload their consciousness to the virtual world Etheria. There, humans coexist with the beings known as the Animus, who can utilize anima power, giving them superhuman abilities. They're basically the characters that you'll be pulling for in this game, and the units that you'll be building a team off of. Ethereal Restart has been in development since 2022 and is finally ready to come out of the oven, jam-packed with a ton of features like fully voiced characters and sequences, fully animated and 3D rendered abilities for each and every single character, a main storyline, and a bunch of other game modes. So in this video, we'll be going over the game's graphics, how the game plays, we'll check out some of the characters, and we'll take a peek at the game modes this game offers. Do note that I played Ethereal Restart on a preview build of the game, so some of the footage that you'll see in this video may not be the same as in the actual live version of the game. But before we dive deeper into the video, first we would like to thank XD Inc. and Ethereal Restart for giving us the opportunity to showcase their game in this channel and for sponsoring the video.
世界を飲み込んだ吹雪の原因を知る人はいない。
Ethereal Restart is set in a world where in the height of the golden age of science, a mysterious and sudden cryostorm engulfed the Earth, culling most of the human population. At that moment of despair, humans created the virtual world Etheria, where those qualified were allowed to transfer their consciousness and live in the aforementioned virtual world. There, humanity established a new government, created powerful beings known as the Animus, and led humanity into a new age of prosperity. But then, an anti-Etheria organization known as the RCS created chaos with an element known as Genesis. They created chaos by altering animuses with Genesis, creating monsters which eventually spread into the populace, resulting in an uncontrolled pandemic. Due to this chaos, a group known as Hyperlinkers stepped up, survivors of the fallen Earth that are trying to protect Etheria by combating the spread of Genesis, and that is where you come in. At the start of the game, you'll be given a choice between playing as a male or female character, and there really isn't any character customization in the game except for some costumes and outfits that you'll be able to buy later on. And after choosing a name, you instantly proceed to the first chapter of the main story, which doubles as a tutorial to help you learn the basics of the game, like combat and exploration. The tutorial part of the game is pretty streamlined if I do say so myself, and goes over everything you need to learn to actually play the game. But it doesn't really go over how you should build your characters and optimize your gameplay. Like in any other gacha game, you'll have to learn those yourself, from guides, or from other players. The exploration in this game is super light. There are a number of platforming mechanics and you might miss a chest or two if you're not paying attention, but overall, the exploration is pretty linear in this game. There aren't really any big open worlds to explore or any interesting hidden areas that you can bump into for that matter. But I guess, exploration probably isn't something that the devs wanted to really go too deep into, especially considering that the exploration part of this game, I guess, only exists when doing the main story and is only really there to stitch together the story and the combat, as well as to add some additional gameplay interactivity within the game's story mode. But on the bright side, Ethereal Restart doesn't waste your time by artificially padding sections in the exploration part of the game like we see in open world gacha games, and you can actually get away with glossing over any collectibles or even chests for that matter without fear of breaking your account. The game's turn-based combat, on the other hand, is the crux of the gameplay, where everything else you do in Ethereal Restart is all for the sole purpose of enhancing your team's fighting power within these sections of combat. Every character has 3 skills that they can perform, each varying in effect and potency. Each character also has their own unique set of skills, and there are a lot of characters in this game offering near infinite ways to build your team. All abilities in the game are also fully animated, with the ultimate ability or the third skill having its own special little cutscene that plays whenever a unit performs the action. This is true ranging from units in the SS R tier all the way down to the R tier units, and these animations are all especially intricate and are always fun to watch, especially when you're just starting out and seeing all these unique animations play out for the very first time. But after getting used to these animations, you'll probably be using the fast forward feature to speed up the gameplay, allowing it to increase the attack and animation speed to up to 3 times. And when the time comes where you have to mindlessly farm for materials, Ethereal Restart also lets you toggle the auto battle feature, allowing you to sit back and relax while your team does the rest of the fighting for you. But it's not advisable to treat this feature as a norm when playing the game. There will be enemies that are too hard for the auto battle to resolve on its own, so you'll have to take control in that scenario, and it's generally better to learn how to battle manually as much as you can to prepare you for the PvP arena. The auto battle feature in this game exists to automate stages that you can easily complete, but for a lot of the game's content, just because you can auto battle doesn't mean you should. As you play along the story, you'll eventually reach these points where the game tells the narrative through fully animated cutscenes, and Ethereal Restart's story is filled with these. It basically showcases how much time and effort has been put into creating a cinematic experience for this game, and the visuals really pops off within these short cinematics. But they aren't the only thing that Ethereal Restart gets right concerning its visuals. A lot of the characters look fun, dynamic, unique, and a specific character can even have different variations of themselves, complete with entirely different character models as opposed to simple recolors. Their abilities, effects, and animations also vary depending on the variation, so it's super cool to see and discover how these different character variations differ from each other, seeing their skills and what they can do before getting into the nitty-gritty of actually building and optimizing your team comps for higher level gameplay. The game's environments also offer some really nice set pieces that really set the tone of the world of Ethereal Restart. With the game set between an ice-ravaged Earth and a neo-sci-fi virtual world, the game would shift between this tiny melancholic apartment when you're in the menus, and then to the inner workings of the sprawling cityscapes of Etheria, just absolutely filled with happenings from monsters roaming around, to an entire fighting arena, to even world-ending conspiracies happening right under everyone's noses. The world of Ethereal Restart feels very much alive, and I'm curious as to how XD will further expand its world and story, and seeing how this initial global release already has this much effort put into crafting the game's visuals and graphics, it's hard not to get excited for what the developers have in store in the future. And now that we've covered how the game looks and plays, next, let's talk about probably the most important thing out of every gacha game, the characters. When deciding which characters to get in games like these, I don't think I'm wrong when I say that the very first thing that players look at when deciding if they should pull or skip a banner is the current rate-ups of visuals. And in terms of style and visual variety, Ethereal Restart has those in strides. But of course, the game's visuals obviously caters to a certain type of audience, particularly those who enjoy stylized anime aesthetics, so you can expect that the game will have all kinds of character archetypes that are pretty much packaged with this type of art style. But the game doesn't only cater to its players solely with its art style. Characters in Ethereal Restart, the units, the ones you actually get to put into your team, have a lot of new ones to each and every single one of them. See, there's a lot of play when you're building your team, and even more so when you're actually out battling. A certain character could play as a main damage dealer or as a support depending on your team's playstyle, and there is a gigantic list of dynamics and synergies between these different kinds of team compositions. You could end up with a full team of just AoE damage dealers, or a full team of supports, and let's not scratch out the conventional team comps with a balanced mix of buffers, dealers, and healers. But those are only examples of the possible team comps that you can have because the game offers a visually infinite amount of combinations. But even within these roles and archetypes, there are even more nuances that you have to keep in mind. Just for the attackers or the damage dealers, for example, some characters excel at dealing massive single target damage. Some do better against a group of enemies with AoEs, some whittle down enemies with DOTs or damage over time effects, and there are even damage dealers that can perform as a one-man army, dealing massive damage while healing themselves in the process. This game design is not exclusive to damage dealers, rather it also extends to each and every single archetype. I say archetype, but some characters can play the role of either or, so I'm simply basing my archetypes to the things I've observed during my playthrough. There's a lot of things to keep in mind when building your units as well, because there's a bunch of stats that you have to familiarize yourself with in order to more effectively level up and build a specific character. Stats are governed by levels, star rating, skill levels, items called modules that you have your units equipped, and of course, duplicates. Etheria Restart also has a pretty unique pet system it calls shells, where you can equip one shell into one character, offering different boons and bonuses like increased damage for the next attack. Some can also heal allies, while some can even directly attack your enemies. Shells in Etheria Restart adds yet another layer of depth and strategy into crafting your teams, and the best part is you don't even need the premium currency to obtain them or even upgrade them, because shells are fully farmable just by playing the game. Being a live service game, Ethereal Restart offers a bunch of different activities that you can do to keep you logging in on the daily while leveling up your account in the process. During your first few hours of playing, you'll primarily be doing the main story content, offering up a pretty good idea to the background of the story of the game, as well as some early resources to help you kickstart building up your first team. But the story mode isn't nearly enough to consistently level up your characters, and that is where the challenge modes come in. These are the game modes where you'll be spending your daily energy on to farm for the items and resources that you'll need to properly build up your team. Grim Pursuit lets you farm shells, Threshold gives out modules, Investigation gives experience cards to level up your characters, and GP Outpost rewards you with the materials needed to upgrade a unit's skills. There's also the trial challenges that you can do to earn some additional rewards to further boost your account, and the limited events are some additional content that you can do to get some more rewards, but they often give out better rewards compared to the trial challenges, where you can even get some pull currency to summon more characters. Although I'm not entirely sure what kind of a limited event these ones are. Are the rewards limited, or are the game modes themselves limited, like changing the actual game mode / gameplay per season? It could be either or even both. Aside from challenges, you can also join guilds called unions. The main activity that you can do here with your union mates is to tackle a raid boss that'll take some team effort to fully defeat, but the rewards are definitely worth it, considering the offerings that the union shop has. So even if you're a solo player, I think you're still going to have to consider joining a union in order to take advantage of the additional resources that it can provide. There really isn't any point to not join a union in this game, but if you're really dedicated to keeping things solo, then I guess you can also start multiple accounts and run a solo player union, but that's only advisable for the most dedicated players that this game will ever have. And lastly, arguably what this game is all about, the Arena mode, a PvP game mode that some of you Gacha veterans may very well be accustomed to, especially if you came from games like Epic 7 or Raid Shadow Legends. There's three main types of PvP arenas where you can battle against other players in Etheria Restart. The Ether Arena is the game's version of asynchronous PvP, where you simply battle against another player's team that is controlled by an AI. This arena mode is a pretty good way to test your ideal team against the teams of other players, and participating in this mode also rewards you with some arena shop currency that you can use to purchase some much needed supplies like pull currencies or even credits for upgrading units. The Summit Arena, on the other hand, is Etheria Restart's take on a live PvP arena. Players take turns drafting their team where duplicates aren't allowed, meaning that if you'd like to use a certain character but your opponent ended up picking them first, you won't be able to use that character for your own team for the rest of the match. So it's generally a good idea to stockpile a number of build characters so you can have backups whenever your main team gets denied. There's also the ban phase where you can get rid of a single character that your enemy has chosen, blocking any potential plays that they were trying to go for. Then we have the Fearless Arena, which plays a lot like the Summit Arena, where it has the same rules as live PvP, only that it's structured in a tournament format where instead of a simple 1v1 match, you're pitted against 7 other hyperlinkers. The majority of this mode uses the best of 1 format right up to the finals, which will be a best of 3, and of course, the champion gains bragging right status and reaps the best rewards. So that concludes our overview for Etheria Restart. It's definitely a pretty interesting game, especially how it revolves around its live PvP, but even if you're not a big fan of PvP, that's fine too. The game has a lot of content for you to enjoy as a PvE player. But that said, what do you folks think about Etheria Restart? Are you interested in giving it a try? Be sure to check the links down in the description to kickstart your adventures in Etheria today. And if you like what you saw, please leave a like, comment your thoughts in the comment section down below, and be sure to follow Turn-Based Lovers for everything turn-based. This has been Leaf, and I'll see you guys on the next one.